Praneshan Naidoo, the Managing Director of Fund the People. It's such an honor to host you, to have you. And we spoke off camera about some personal things. And even before we start this conversation, I just want to say thank you very much for having such a big heart for South Africa and South Africans, and for picking the type of work that is normally not appreciated by the mainstream, because people look at politicians, charity organizations, religious institutions, but they don't see financing houses and funding institutions as part of the lifeblood of a nation. We speak airy-fairy things, but the reality is we need to eat. The reality is we need to wear clothes. We need to sleep somewhere, and that requires money. And a lot of the guys who are in the space you're in are just about numbers. But off camera, you gave me a peek into your life and into your heart and into why you do what you do, which is mostly impact. But I don't want to steal your shine. Praneshan, how are you? How have you been? How's work? Yeah, all those good things.
Hey, Penuel, thank you so much for having me. And apologies once again for actually moving this for a few times. I think my nervousness got the better of me.
You were sick.
So it wasn't...
You were sick.
The sick was, because I was nervous. I think that was it. No, but thank you for having me. It's actually great to be here. It's great to be on this podcast. I went through some of your content and some of the things that you have on YouTube and Instagram, and I'm actually honored to be in front of you. So thank you for giving me the platform.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Brief background of where you're from. You can decide what you want to share with us. Where you're from, where you grew up, any education you want to mention, and then maybe going into how you founded the companies that you came to speak about today.
So Penuel, I was born in Durban. I came up to Johannesburg in the year 2005. Worked for a company called Reuters. I think you heard of it. It's the news agency. Yep. Worked in there for quite a number of years. I think about 8 years or 9 years. But then I realized that the space of tenders and the procurement of tenders within SOEs was much more attractive to me. So in the year 2013, I got into understanding a lot more about the tender game. I've assisted companies with the likes of Eskom, the SOEs. And I've seen it all, right? I mean, I've been very much involved where a lot of corruption happened, where I've seen it with my own eyes, right? Within that space. And I actually didn't want to get involved in it anymore. You know, you've heard about the likes of a very famous Indian family in South Africa that tried to actually capture government. And I knew of them, right? I knew of them. I didn't know them personally, but I knew of them. But being in the likes of working with SOEs, you really see how individuals actually try to capture, how to actually try to capture government, right? And actually try to capture these state departments. I don't think that, coming back to something, I don't think that stopped, to be honest. I just think right now that there's put a lot more red tapes in that for not to happen, but it still happens.
The capturing or the attempted capture?
The attempt to capture, right? If you're here right now, you see the Mandela Commission happening right now, where an Indian lady got shot purely because of her trying to red flag things at a hospital of Tembisa, right? Of where you're buying a pair of Levi jeans for 9,000 Rand. Right? And that's what you probably see in procurement right now. I still see it on a daily basis, though, to say that, not on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. I still see that. Recently, we had a client that came through also from a health department. And I don't know why it's health at the moment, because I swear to God, I don't know why it's health. I mean, I see a lot of things in health, where somebody was actually charging 35,000 Rand for a drill. And the drill
35,000 Rand?
For one drill. And the exact same drill in macro was actually going for 399, I think.
Crazy.
So when we did our comparisons, and I actually told the person to walk out of my office, I didn't want to see him again.
Yeah.
But he was so convinced because he needed the money, right? And he said, oh no, join me in this.
It's going to get approved, don't worry.
You'll get approved, you'll get paid, right? So we do see, we still see those things, you know, which is actually sad for the country, because at the end of the day, the perception of tenders. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The word tenderpreneur at the moment screams out a corruption.
It's a dirty word.
It's a dirty word.
Yeah.
And it's not. And that's the perception I like to change. And that's one of my main games, is to change how people look at people that are in the tender space. And I want to do that. You know, I'm very passionate about that. The reason being is because I work with people on a daily basis that are passionate about this country, that want to get the work done. They are eager to grow. They want to start off from your 100,000 tender, and they want to move into the 10 million space, you know? And they know the work has to be done for that, right? And you know, I've got guys that actually get the work done, you know, and that's what we do, right? We join these companies, we partner with these companies to ensure that 100% of service delivery is actually done. But there's that few, and there's that few that basically come across, like where you get somebody right now where you've got 7 Lamborghinis being taken away from his house, and I think his house just got taken away this last week.
Sure.
But they get painted in the same, they get put in the same basket, right? Which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate for, and I would say, to be honest with you, it's 95% of these guys, of the people that I work with, all these SMMEs, they're good guys. They're very good guys, you know. But they unfortunately get into the same basket as being called a tenderpreneur,
Sure.
which ultimately screams out a corruption.
That's very sad. I want to mention some of the names that you didn't mention. So for anyone who maybe just doesn't know this stuff, the family that was accused of potentially capturing the country under ex-President Jacob Zuma, being the Gupta family, who I think are wanted for questioning in South Africa, but there's a whole scandal around that. May she rest in peace, Babita Deokaran, one of the whistleblowers. We've had others that have been murdered in this country for trying to do the right thing and expose a rot. And then the person whose Lamborghinis were taken, and then I think they were sent back to the dealership, Morgan Hangwani, Maumera.
Yeah.
We don't know who he is. We don't know where he is, but it's all a mess up. So you're an enabler, or your business is an enabler, it seems, for, we'll call it government procurement.
Yep.
What is the name of your business? You speak Reuters, you speak being exposed to working with SOEs and the tender space, but how did you formally start the business? What's the name? What is the business? And for someone who's just hearing it for the first time, what exactly do you do?
So as you just said it right now, right, it's purely an enabled platform. So the name of the business is called Fund the People.
Fund the People.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a bit of background if you don't mind, right? So I used to work for a funding house doing the exact same thing from the year 2022. I decided to leave, and I formed a company called Go Fund Yourself. And Go Fund Yourself, the words alone will tell you why.
Sure.
Go Fund Yourself is purely a township enabler, right? Go Fund Yourself, in a very short space of time, became one of the largest township enablers in the country. We were in the news, we were in the papers, we joined forces across Gauteng, and it was the story of how it started is quite. It's, you know, I speak about this all the time, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this if they're going to hear this podcast. I was driving to work in 2023 September. And I came across these two guys on the corner of Grayston and the M1. And they were pushing this trolley, and they had coffee on it. They had a few bags of scones, and they were selling coffee on the road. And I found that to be quite interesting.
Sure.
So I stopped. And when I stopped, they thought I was from JMPD, or they thought I was from somewhere. And they didn't want to speak to me. They're like, we don't have a permit. And I said, guys, I really like what you're doing. I'd like to speak to you guys. And they came into the office an hour later, and we had a long chat as to what they're doing. Long story cut short was, we got them a full Jacobs sponsorship. So
That's
we got
brilliant.
them these big bags.
That's brilliant.
We went into different coffee houses, got them these big bags, but these big cans, you know, that you put on. I think you see it in the soccer festivals,
Okay.
in the stadiums, where you
That
got
you
this
wear on
big
your
bag
back.
where you got the beer that comes out.
On your front. Is it your
In the
back or your front?
in the back.
On your back.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this had coffee. And we've got them all these, you know, it was one of the first ones that were in South Africa that Jacobs actually sponsored for them. And this was from Europe, right? So they were quite chuffed.
Yeah.
We got them a full sponsorship. And now they're employing over 20 people
That's
on the
crazy.
road for that, right? But not only did we do that, then I thought to myself, hey, I'm in the tender space. Let me see what else I can do for them. Then I got them on to apply for tenders, right? I got them to register a company, got them onto CSD, and got them to apply for tenders. But because we're so close to the city of Johannesburg, I literally shout what these guys do. You know, I stand on a pedestal and I shout what these guys do, right? Because these guys give hope to people in the township that want to get things done, right? And I wanted that news to go across. So now they got a catering contract with the city of Joburg, right? So they go to Joburg markets, they give coffee there, they do catering for them. And that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see somebody that's off the street, that's doing something off the street, that knows that there's hope for them, only if you try.
That's crazy.
Only if you persist in what you're doing. You know, I always say this, that opportunity arises from persistence, right? And that's what happens. And that's what people need to see. So I've opened up that. So I opened up Go Fund Yourself. And Go Fund Yourself is purely a township enabler, as I said. So I put it very simple for people. What is it? It's a lady that stands across the road or sits across the road that braids hair, as you do. If you walk into a township and you see all these small businesses on the road, right? You've got people selling vegetables, you've got people braiding hair, you've got people giving haircuts. In a township, everything can be done on the road, and you know that, right? So, and she stands there every day looking across into this mall, and she wants to open up a shop in the mall. We hold her hand and take her into that mall to open a shop. That's what we do.
That's a scary thing to say on a platform, because now all small entrepreneurs are going to be hitting you up. You're happy with that?
We started with that, and that's why it became so big. I would say that I'm happy with that. The reason I'm happy with that is because we realized that we needed government to do this with us, right? We couldn't do this alone, right? And that is why I always say that the public and private partnerships are the most important partnerships to have if you want to see success in whatever you're doing, right? I don't think that government can do this on their own, and I don't think private can do this on their own, right? We need to be forming these partnerships where we have the same mandate and we have the same vision and the same goal. And that's what government vision is, right? Government vision is to have more entrepreneurs out there. You know, you've got our premier that stands up all the time with his 2030 goal of grow Gauteng together.
This is Panyaza Lesufi.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where he says, hey, I want 467 billion, I think, that to come out of townships in the next 10 years. And that's
close to 500 billion.
Yes.
Insane.
Right? That's what he wants. He wants entrepreneurs in townships to be involved in the procurement of government. Right? Now that's where we came about. So in the beginning of last year, I've opened up Fund the People. And Fund the People purely is a tender enablement, right? So it assists with funding solutions. So it assists SMMEs that need funding. And as you do know, right, no bank touches a tender. There's no bank that will fund a tender.
Sadly, yeah.
Right? That is a sad part of South Africa. Banks, due to how government runs their procurement processes and due to how government pays, banks wait a long time for their money. SMMEs wait a long time for their money.
High risk.
And that was it, right? It's a sad part where you've got an SMME waiting. After doing the work, they're still waiting 60 to 90 days for their money. How are you supposed to run a business?
As a small guy, you can't.
How are you able to pay salaries, right? Here you've got government coming and screaming to say, oh no, we need more employment. We need more businesses. But if government is paying in 90 days or 60 days, does any business want to get involved with government? No, right? They're going to stay away, right? And that's where we come across, right? That's where we come into play. So
you fill that gap?
So we fill that gap, right? We offer purchase order funding and invoice discounting solutions. And that's what we do, right? But the main thing that's coming up, and I won't speak a lot about money here because I think giving out money is one of the most easiest things.
Of course.
Right? And I'm telling you the truth.
Of course.
Everybody sees it.
I can give you money right now.
Everybody sees it, right? Being able to empower somebody and being able to take somebody that basically doesn't have a company and getting them all the way into the tender space where they're winning tenders and getting them to grow and where they now have 10 to 20 people employed under them, that's what we see. And that's where we get very much involved in.
Giving out money is easy. It's the management of the money, the collection of payments, and which makes life very difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You know, we started off the beginning of last year where we formed a government partnerships. Government sees what we do, right? So we have about, I think right now we've got about 13 government partnerships, if I'm not mistaken.
13, 1-3.
1-3. Right?
That's a
We're
lot.
one of the only companies, I think, in the country that has the most amount of government partnerships because government sees what we do. Government doesn't come to us because we hand out money. Government comes to us because of how we help how we help the guy on the ground. Right?
It's
what
the
do we
gap
do?
that they can't fill, unfortunately, currently.
And that's fair enough as well, right? I mean, they've got their challenges as well. You know, everybody points to government a lot to say, oh, you don't do this, you don't do that. We need more knowledge centers. We need more skill centers, whatever. There is. And I know this for a fact, right? There's something that government does really, really good and something that they do really, really bad.
Sure.
One of the things that they do really, really bad in how do they pay SMMEs, right? But then again, if they were very diligent in paying SMMEs in 15 days, I probably won't have a business.
That's true.
Right? So I must actually think about what I do say on this platform, right?
Look, I'll sorry to jump in. I'll say this because I know it's one of the concerning parts for businesses like yours. People don't understand invoice discounting and purchase order funding. Ideally, and this isn't me speaking as an outsider to the business you run, ideally you guys should work to get yourselves out of business, but hopefully into government. Because you're closing a gap that they're failing on.
Yeah.
You would like to graduate in showing government how to sort this out so that they absorb you and you can get a bigger budget and do more work. That's what I'd like to envision in what you guys do. So being the enabler before the tender starts, but from a government with a bigger budget.
To be honest with you, I think that's a brilliant system to have. We have been in talks with government. I'm very close to government because of the relationships that we've built, but also what we do, right? So I've been having chats across the board from, I'm talking from the premier all the way down to your supply chain manager from a municipality, right?
Sure.
Understanding what the issues are and how we can go about making this gap smaller into the terms of payment. Government uses certain systems, right? And this comes from National Treasury. So in order for us to change stuff, it comes all the way from the top. And I would say that that's a 5-year goal for government. We're not going to see that anytime soon. We're not going to see that anytime soon where they're going to be, National Treasury disperses cash sometimes on a weekly basis, sometimes on a monthly basis, right? You've got a municipality. I'm going to give you an example, right? You've got an SMME right now that has an invoice outstanding for 35 million, but it's 4 months old. Why hasn't he got paid at the moment, right? Some of them, immediately, it raises eyebrows to say, oh, he didn't do the work properly.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that you'll hear, right? But meanwhile, the government department doesn't have the budget. They prioritize. They have to prioritize. If a municipality is only given 20 million rand a week, they have to prioritize what the 20 million rand is for, right?
Sure.
What is the essential goods of that, right? They need to deliver water to the community. They need to do, basic road services. So the community can actually function as a whole. Are they going to be paying right now for solar street lights because it's giving Wi-Fi? Is that really their thing? Yes, it is part of their plan, but is that an essential at the moment? No, it's not. Providing water to the community is an essential good, right?
Yeah.
But the other things at the moment fall away. So the guy, SMME, has done the work. He's won the tender. He's done the work, but it's just not a priority at the moment, right? And we don't blame the municipality as well because they also need to prioritize what's good for the people.
Yeah,
right?
They should.
It is a vicious cycle at the end of the day from what I'm seeing.
When I first heard, sorry, please carry on, sir.
No, hopefully, like I said, it changes, right? Hopefully these things change. And hopefully government does deploy a system other than SAP or whatever they're using right now to do everything. And get a lot more, we live in an age where we're not short of any technology. Right?
That is true.
We live in an age whereby we can do anything.
Sure.
Right? We have been having the conversation with somebody the other day, and we are thinking about what we cannot do, right? And we cannot think of something that what we cannot do, because right now with technology, you can basically do everything.
True.
And I think government needs to deploy a lot more money into ensuring that their procurement processes are a lot more based on tech and not human intervention. And that will also try to eradicate corruption, right? It's for me, it's humans that'll actually try to jippo your system or whatever, right? But if you leave something that's purely tech-based to determine things, you actually try to eradicate, corruption.
You're trying to remove human error and overriding.
I recently had a chat to the department, as you do know, the Premier of Gauteng has now, became a big hoo-ha, chose the MEC of Finance from the EFF, right? I think his name is Mr. Lunga, right? Dunga, I think, yeah.
I'll get his official name, but he was at Eguruleni. There were some question marks there, but he said 100%. That there was a lot of misunderstanding.
And I just so happened to have a meeting with his team recently.
Nkululeko Dunga.
Yes.
EFF Gauteng Provincial Chairperson.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I happened to have a meeting with his team recently, and I was quite surprised. And I was actually taken aback, and I was given hope more as to how his team thinks and how his team wants things done in Gauteng. As to making it a lot more digital, having a lot more. And this, when you say that, the immediate thing that comes to people's mind, oh, I lost my job. There's going to be less jobs created right now because of this. I don't think that's the case. I think there will be a lot more jobs created because right now you're going to get people going into different sectors to do the same thing of what we're doing, right? And getting them up to that point where they can go digital, right? So one of the things that, and I was quite surprised as to the amount of effort that they're putting in to get things digital in the Gauteng province. As we do know, Gauteng is the largest province in the country.
In terms of money and population?
100%.
Smallest in terms of size of land.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, but before I do, for people that may not know, SMMEs means small to medium enterprises.
Yeah.
Some people actually hear these terms and they don't know what they mean. And CSD, for people that don't know, is the Central Supplier Database, which is where all the companies that procure to government and get listed. I made a video recently celebrating, one of my favorite international business stories, Grameen Bank, Professor Mohammed Yunus of Bangladesh.
Okay.
So he's built a phenomenal business which started in Bangladesh, getting women to come together and create what we know as stokvels in this country. And for them, it was small enterprise, like you're saying, the coffee, the working with your hands. And I wanted to ask if in the work that you're doing, especially with Go Fund Yourself, would you guys consider crowdfunding stokvels and working with the people? Or does that become risky?
No, that becomes too risky.
Okay.
I wouldn't want that. I do feel that government has a lot of money.
Sure.
And we try to tap into those government programs in order for us to put that money into the right place.
Okay.
Right? I can talk about this. When we opened up Go Fund Yourself, we were doing at least 300 to 350 people a month in skills development, right?
Okay.
We basically went into townships. We found disabled homes of where there were people that are disabled, and we got them into skills centers.
Sure.
We got transportation for them. We got them into skills centers, right? Because that's what government wants to see. Government wants to see a lot more women, a lot more disabled, a lot more youth that are going into this entrepreneurship programs. There are so many programs in government, right? You just have to choose which one will actually be suitable for that individual. We've joined a fantastic company called Lulaway, which is in Wynberg, that does numerous skills development. They've got proper government partnerships, and that's what you like. And I always say this.
Sorry, Wynberg in Johannesburg?
Yep, right here in Alex.
Not in Cape Town?
No, right here in Alex.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that I feel and I try to push or thrive on is the fact that partnerships work. Partnerships work.
Sure.
I can't do this on my own, right? I can't do this on my own. Government can't do this on their own, right? The more partnerships that we bring across in South Africa, trying to achieve the same goal, you get there actually much more quicker.
Do you have an opinion on mobilizing stokvels into funding agencies, or do you think
I'm
working
not
with
too
that
much
many
about
people is
stokvels. I
Sure.
don't really get much involved in stokvels, whatever the case may be, purely because
Okay.
of the fact that, when it comes to Go Fund Yourself and the enablement platforms, we use government's money, and we actually like
Okay.
to keep it that way.
No
So
problem.
Gauteng has got a very good department called the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, of where we partner with. So as you just said earlier just now, hey, if you say that right now, you're going to be having 1,000 emails on your inbox when you get back to the office, and we're okay with that, right? Because all we do is we just pass it on to Gauteng Enterprise Propeller that will be able to sift these things
Okay.
and see which ones will actually qualify. When we first started off with this one, with Go Fund Yourself, we had people send us emails to say, I want to buy a car because I want to become an Uber driver, right? I had the most amount of emails for that.
Sure.
But I also come across people in townships that are extremely creative. I always say this. The most amount of creativity that I've ever come across in my life is from townships, right? It's purely because of the fact when you wake up every day and you have to hustle, you have to think more than anybody else in around you.
Do you think
You
there's
have
a
to
gap?
outsmart somebody.
Do you think there's a gap in the market? So, Transaction Capital launched SA Taxi to fund minibus taxis. And if you're saying some of the most requests you got were for cars for Uber, do you think there's a gap in the market maybe to be funding cars?
No, I just think at the moment, from what I'm seeing, I think there's an oversaturation of it, right? So
Okay.
there has to come across. And also because of the fact of what happens with SA taxis and what happens with your Uber drivers and stuff, there's always going to be that rift,
Sure.
right? So no, I wouldn't get involved
No
in
problem.
something like that. Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting about Treasury, and it had me thinking about, this is very controversial and it will upset a lot of people, but the idea of decentralizing Treasury. Because if municipalities are waiting for money and then the money comes and then it needs to be prioritized, those cause unnecessary lags, especially for small business owners. I'm currently on a campaign, very dangerous campaign, I think for me, to challenge the national big funding institutions, the PIC, which has 3.7 trillion. You've mentioned the GEP in Gauteng. There's others in other provinces. You've got the NEF, the National Empowerment Fund. I think you have CIFA, etc. I don't like the fact that they centralized because they make life difficult for provinces, cities, etc. So you can speak to the GEP instead of having to go to a national body, which is meant to assist. And I just wanted to ask your thoughts on potentially breaking up some of these institutions so that Fund the People can be in every province, and you're not waiting for a national person, or in a province, you don't have to speak to the premier. You speak to whoever's running Joburg, Egoruleni, so that things move faster because they've got their own budget and you can be more focused. I wanted to ask if you have an opinion on decentralizing some of these huge funding institutions.
I think
Sorry
that's a really
to
good...
catch you on the spot.
No, it's fine. I actually like the question. But the thing is, yes, but there's so much of risk involved in that, right? I mean, if you have a look right now, we come across municipalities that go into audits all the time. I think it's Auditor General that actually rates these, audits these and rates them as well, right? All these municipalities, right? And I think you only got 6 or 7 municipalities in the country that do really, really well. What about the rest of them that have clean audits? What about the rest of them? So we have to decentralize Treasury and actually get the money down to municipality level. We're going to see a lot more corruption. And I know this.
You don't think it's easier to speak to one person at national and steal money versus having to go to different spaces?
I don't think so.
You prefer centralization?
I think I like centralization at the moment, but if they can change the way that they do it, who knows, right? Government is going a lot more. So government is going a lot more into the e-space, can I say, right now?
E-space.
Like sort of the electronic space, how they do tenders, how they do something. And there's something I want to talk about as well, right? So at Fund the People, like I said, giving out money is very easy.
Sure.
Right? It's how we empower somebody, right? And that's my passion.
Yeah.
We've recently launched a tender platform. So our platform basically carries the most amount of tenders that they're in the country. So here's what happens.
This is on your website or separate?
On our website.
Okay.
Right. So it's actually a plug into our website, right? It's actually tenders.fundthepeople.co.za.
Okay.
Here's what we see, right? And we see this very often. And I always say this, people in South Africa are very creative. We will possibly have between 3 and 4 fake tenders land on our desk every day. Every day.
Hectic.
So now you've got somebody that's got a real tender. There is somebody sitting at home, busy on their computer, and with all the tech at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, they'll be able to change the company name, they can change the date, and they can change the amount. It looks absolutely real to you.
Yeah.
Now, what we see a lot in South Africa is because of CSD, people have hacked into CSD, and National Treasury knows this, right?
I didn't know this. That's scary.
Oh, yeah. People have hacked into CSD.
Sure.
Right? So once you get onto CSD, you're going to get a lot more people that are basically putting out tenders onto your email address, right? Because your email address is actually linked onto CSD, right? And if National Treasury wants to challenge me on what I just said, they're more than welcome to.
Sure.
Right? Because I can prove to them as to what happens on a daily basis. Then you get people that come up to say, hey, I've got this tender for you. Don't you want to apply for it? Once you apply for it, they'll say, for 5,000 or 3,000 rand, you can have the tender. We speak to people, and this is no lie, we speak to people on a daily basis that have paid for tenders that are fake. National Treasury knows about this. Government knows about this. And this is something that they've took a big stance right now to change.
Sure.
So I think they've already started in the beginning of the year. So National Treasury is going purely electronic, of whereby you start applying for tenders within the CSD of the platform.
Yeah.
And that eradicates most of the corruption.
Sure.
Right.
But some of my friends.
I think there was a long. Sorry. Yeah.
You think there was a long? Sorry.
No. I think there was a long time overdue.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they went that route because they could also see what was happening, right? But if you do know that National Treasury on e-tenders, which is their biggest site, doesn't really carry much of municipality work. So what happens is when we want to apply for a tender, like like yourself, you want to now do boots, right? So you said, hey, I'm a manufacturer of boots, or I am bringing boots in from China, the best quality. I've got access to that. I want to supply that onto government.
Yeah.
Right? How do I go about it? So you go in onto National Treasury e-tender site and you type in boots. You're probably going to be getting 2 or 3 tenders that's relevant onto boots only. Right? Our system is very much different. Right? Our system, the AI reads the tender document, and anything that's equivalent to a boot are relevant with boots, such as if you can do boots, you can do hats.
Sure.
You can do clothes, right?
They'll pick all of those up.
They will pick all of that up, right?
Yeah.
But also, on the municipality level, you're not going to get every municipality on e-tenders at the moment, right? And the National Treasury knows about that. So we've combined a tender website that will incorporate every single one. We have been in talks a lot with National Treasury around this and how to partner. And we're very close in actually closing the partnership gap there.
Sure.
Which I'm quite excited about. But recently we have partnered with the Gauteng province. Our partnership with Gauteng province is that's what I wake up for every morning, man.
Yeah.
So if somebody asks me why I wake up in the morning, it's for that, enablement of, and I'm not even saying SMMEs because they're not even an SMME as yet, they're an individual. You know, they don't even have a company output.
Sure.
So it's people that can make a desk like this, but don't even have a company. They're the ones that are getting e-wallets and putting the money under the mattress. You know about those guys, right? No, I'm serious. They don't like banks. Do you know how many people don't like banks? Right? I'm serious, right?
I know there's certain groups outside of illegal foreigners in this country that don't bank their money.
They don't
and if
like
they're
to
not
bank their money.
buying stock, then yes, they keep cash in their homes.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
They the perception of having a bank account, the bank fees are very high. Banks are taking this. Banks can do whatever.
They can freeze your account at any time.
We're trying to change that. We're trying to change as to how building them up into an SMME, right? So what we do is almost every 2 weeks, we go into a township and we train over 200 people, right? And we do this with government. So City of Johannesburg has about 9 opportunity centers, and that's only for the City of Johannesburg. And we've actually been engaging with all 9 opportunity centers. So we basically go every 2 weeks. The city helps us in actually spreading the news around that we're there.
Sure.
And we train these guys, right? But we just don't do this we're just doing a once-off session to say, hey, this is how you get into it and bye-bye. No. We try to follow up a lot on that, right? Because everything right now, you do know, we capture the data, we understand where they want to do, we assist them with CST, we assist them in how to get onto the tender platform, how to apply for these tenders, what sort of documents are needed. A simple thing as to why you're not compliant on your tax bill, right? You get so many people like that, right?
It's a big one.
It's a big one, right?
Yeah,
So,
tax clearance.
and that is why right now we have partnered with Gauteng, right, with the province, because we understand the mandate from the Premier of having that close to 500 billion procured from townships. How do you do that if the guys don't have access onto knowledge?
Sure.
How do you do that if the guys don't have access onto platforms for them to learn how to get onto these things, right? And that's where we come about. So I think my passion is a lot more in not just giving out money, but more as to how to build South Africa up to a place whereby there's hope for people, right? Whereby somebody can say, I want to get onto for me to learn how to build a house. And that's what happens.
I wish you guys the best of luck. I've got friends who are in the tender space, and one of the things that's always frustrated me being around them is the amount of documentation and the printing costs. For the average person, which would be a problem. I hope our legal system, as of yesterday, fixes this thing, because papers disappear, and of course, cybersecurity becomes a concern, because if the CSD can get hacked, the idea of having e-platforms only, where all of a sudden people's documents and things are disappearing and there's only certain companies that are staying, is very, very dangerous.
I hope National Treasury gets that right, though. They are basically in their beta testing, whatever.
Sure.
And I hope they do get it right? Because I think it could be a big change for the country as well, as you just said.
It's necessary.
Right, it is totally
It's
necessary. Yeah. It's more for those people right now that, hey, and it's sad. It's there for somebody right now that borrowed 3,000 Rand for somebody to pay for a fake tender, right? And that's sad.
Sure.
They don't recover from something like that. All they do is just get let down again to say, okay, I lose hope in everything right now,
Are there people that are competing with you in the space that you're in?
So as I just said, we're a funding solutions a house. So on the funding side, I don't think so. And no, what we're doing at the moment, I'm proud to say that we're probably one of the only companies right now involved with government. I'm sure there's other NGOs and NPOs that are actually trying to do the same thing that we do.
Okay.
It's just that our relationship with government and our partnership with government is very strong into what needs to be achieved. So like I said, I'm not too worried about competition. But I do hope there's competition, because if there is competition, there's a lot more people doing what I do, right? And that's what you need to see.
No business owner wants competition.
I can't do this on my own. No, I like
There's
competition.
no business owner that wants competition.
No, I like competition. It's healthy. I really like competition. It's healthy. Because I always like to know what the other person's doing as well.
Okay.
I always feel like this, right? I'm going to give you an example, right? Not only do we get calls or emails for us to fund a tender or to assist with tender funding.
Yeah.
We get people that want to open up a shopping mall, right? We get people that want to go and open up a spaza shop.
Yeah.
Right? Do we really turn every single person away that way? And my aim was, when I started this off, and I also told all my staff, is that you never turn somebody down to say no, sorry. In this market in South Africa, I think that there's financial houses for almost everything, right? Somebody wants to right now buy a yellow fleet because they've got a contract with a mine. There are financial houses for that, right? It's just that they don't know about it.
Sure.
Right? It's because I'm in the space, and because we're very close to other people as well that actually provide funding, we understand exactly what they do.
Yeah.
And my main aim is to not say no to any SMME that needs funding for something.
Try and assist or connect or
to connect,
offer
whatever
skills
the case
or something.
May be. Exactly, right? you spoke earlier about the likes of NEF, SETFA, and I think they call this SETFA now because they merged.
Okay.
Uh,
With CEDA.
Yeah, but CEDA and the CFA merged, and now they call us SETFA. And I'm very close to them. I'm actually very close to the, to understanding what they're doing. However, the amount of time that's taken an SMME to get cash is what deters somebody from actually going to them.
True.
Right? True. If you go to a government department right now, and if you go to, and I'm going to speak out loud. I'm going to speak openly about this, and that's fine, right? I don't mind if somebody has to come and question me about this, because then they have to prove me wrong, and that's what I'd like. I would love a government to prove me wrong in what I'm saying. If you go right now to Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, which is a house right now for funding of tenders. Right, so they provide tender funding.
Okay,
right, it's one of their products or financial products that they have.
Sure,
you're going to be waiting for over 8 weeks. So you tell me right now, you're going to a government institution that provides you money. However, knowing that the purchase order has an expiry date, so you need to procure the stuff in maybe 2 weeks, right, or a week.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to go to Gauteng Enterprise? How are you supposed to go to a government organization for help
and wait for 2 months or
when
over
you
2
wait
months?
for 2 months, right? And that's purely because of the fact, number one, they don't have money. Number two, they don't have the necessary skills in order for them to close something so quickly.
Maybe they're inundated with work. Okay, please keep it moving.
I don't think
that's an answer enough.
No, exactly.
Sure.
So, we started off a drive of where we said we'll help them. We'll help them in order for them to be assisting a lot more SMMEs at a lot more quicker pace, right? Our funding solutions are basically done within 3 to 4 days.
That's crazy.
Right? Exactly, because that's what you want to see.
Sure.
You want to see an SMME coming, getting the funding that they need within a space of a time that they don't have to look anywhere else.
Yeah.
That they that they get the assistance that they need, right?
Sure, and they can do the work that they need to do.
Exactly. As I'm saying right now, all these products that we're talking about are not bankable, right? Coming back onto one more thing is the fact that banks also don't look at them is because how many SMMEs that you know that over COVID got blacklisted for purely something that was not in their control, right? They had an order, they had a supplier that they owed money to, and purely because of the fact what happened with COVID, they got blacklisted.
Sure.
And it's quite difficult in order for you to get off the blacklist.
Do you know that if that's still the case? As in, were the blacklists, was it removed? Or
I don't
is
think
it still
so.
sitting?
No, I still see it, right?
And the government is aware that it was because of COVID, but they still decided to punish.
Yeah, exactly, right?
That's not right.
And that's not right, right? Yeah. But if you go to a bank right now and immediately you go and you apply for credit, the first thing they pick up a blast, they don't care when it was.
Sure.
You can't go to them to say, you can't go and explain yourself to a bank.
It's actually something to investigate. What the credit bureaus have done about people who are blacklisted during COVID, understanding the dynamics, or if they've been isolated and given different treatment.
Exactly.
If they haven't,
I'd like to know that. In fact,
that's a huge problem,
right? I see it, right? We use credit systems in order for us to look at at companies that where we want to fund, right?
Sure.
So we see that, right? You see them and you see the year that they got blacklisted and you just know why.
Sure.
But so immediately the banks don't look at them. So whatever I spoke to right now about all these products are the ones that are not bankable. So if you're going to be coming, it's like this. It's very simple. Somebody wins a purchase order. The first thing that they do is when they don't have the money and they know they can't go to the bank, because I think the banks made a lot of noise to say, if you got a tender, don't come to us, right? News actually spreads within this, right? The first thing that they'll do is they'll go to their family, they'll go to their in-laws, they'll go to a loan shark, they'll go to everybody around them in order for them to borrow the money. And what I'd like South Africa to know is, and what I'd like people in the space to know is that there are institutions to assist you with this. I'm not trying to say I'm the only one.
Okay.
I'm trying to say that there are purchase order funding companies to assist you with this. Right? So do not really go to, loan sharks out there, right? Where they're going to come to
put
take
your life in
and
danger.
Take everything else. Exactly, right? That's what happens, right? So there are companies to assist you with this, right? I'm not the only one. But what we do different is, like I said, what we do very, very different is the enablement factor, is providing the people with a platform to basically search on every single tender that there is in the country.
Yeah.
Is having access to that information. But what do you do with that information, right? It's very easy having that information. Our system will teach you what to do with the information, how to fill out forms, how to go according to every step that's needed if you're having any roadblocks in terms of these tenders, right?
Thank you. I've got a question. I've got two questions actually. I've got a question and a bit of a story. I sat with an amazing South African entrepreneur, Rali Mampeule. He's in property, he's in land, he's also in fiber.
Okay.
I believe they were funded by the PIC.
All right.
And we did touch on purchase order funding and invoice discounting at some point. And he spoke about this huge issue of certain government departments not paying, to a point where some of the people in there, you spoke about the human element, wanting to be paid, bribed, before they release a payment. So in this case, they have the money, it's all there, they're just not releasing it because they're like, well, you didn't give me money. And he said there are certain people who are now coming into that space to say, I will give you funding because I've got friends inside. As soon as I tell my friend release the payment, we'll get paid. Have you heard of anything like this? Is this something to be concerned about in the space you're in?
We hear about it and it does happen. We just don't like to be involved in it at all. So we do get people come to us to say, listen, in order for me to even get this tender, I need to pay somebody in the department. And we don't do that. No, we walk away from that. Because the possibility of them, you've seen what happened right now, right? I mean, you've seen what happens with commissions right now. You've seen what happened when the corruption builds to such a big magnitude that people are losing their lives because of this.
True.
Right? And in order for it, where does it start? It starts there. It starts where somebody in the government department says, in order for me to give you this tender, in order for me to release a payment, I need you to give me something. It starts at that level, right? So if we eradicate that and don't want to be involved in that at all, we're actually trying to help the process a little bit, right?
Sure.
And and I would say this, right? It's a very, very few people that actually do this.
I've got two more questions and then we can close off. These are two clashing questions, but I'd like you to answer both of them. How do you feel about teaching all South African children at school level, high school, tertiary, how to get into the tender space, how to get funding as a base? Because it seems to only happen airy-fairy when people are unemployed or they graduates. It's their first time being exposed. So integrating this education, part of the skills development work that you guys are involved in, integrating it at the earliest level so kids are aware and can start the journey as an option. And then the second one, like I said, clashing questions. We hear parties like the EFF speak about scrapping tenders and insourcing, and your opinions around that outside of the business that you're in.
So, good one. So the first one is, I was actually quite surprised. My nephew is studying accounting and he's doing a few courses in university at the moment. And he was telling me that they're teaching them how to basically not apply for tenders, but a lot more about the tender space, right?
Interesting.
And that I found interesting as well. The one thing though is it's quite... One of the perceptions a lot with tenders, if you go into a township right now and if you see a guy coming on a Sunday with a Ferrari past there, what is the first thing?
Obviously, it's tenders and it's corruption.
What is the first thing you'll say? Exactly.
Yeah.
But no one really sees the hard work that somebody took to get there. No one really sees it, right? I've got numerous clients that work extremely hard. Yes, they do have fancy cars. Yes, they do have fancy houses. But the amount of time it took them to get there was not overnight.
Sure.
Right? You've got You've got the ones that are doing it overnight, and next month the cars are getting impounded and the houses, right? So you don't want to be in that space. But obviously, when you teach, I think the perception actually put out there to kids as well is that this is not something of you getting to be extremely wealthy overnight. No, it's not the case.
Sure.
The amount of hard work that goes into it, the amount of hours, what it's like to run a business, right? The hours is horrendous sometimes, right? The challenges that you have, right? As we just spoke right now about not getting paid from your end buyer in 60, 90 days. How do you account for all that? How do you as a business survive? You need to have a very strong mindset, and you also need to have very good tools, or very good backup plans, right, in order for you to go into the space,
Yeah.
right? But I think it's really good I think it should be part of any business model that they teach at school. It has to go into it.
Sure.
But our kids will purely see the money that is coming part of it. So we lose what the essence about it is.
Yeah, it must be fixed.
It has to be fixed, right? It has to be, the perception of it has to be fixed, right?
Yeah.
As I started off earlier talking to you to say the word tenderpreneur screams out corruption, which is not the case.
Sure.
Right? A tenderpreneur meaning somebody that's driving a Ferrari,
G-Wagon,
has exactly a G-Wagon behind the Ferrari, right?
Of course.
But that's
on their way to the airport to Dubai
100%.
with a nice hun on the side.
100%, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they see, but they really don't see the effort that goes into what it takes an SMME to actually get to that space.
Sure.
Right? And the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, should I say? The other one,
scrapping tenders. Outside of your business, I know it's a tough question. Outside of your business,
how are we supposed to build this economy? How are we supposed to do that? How are we supposed to create employment? How are we supposed to not empower people and get more businesses off the ground?
You're not separating it from your business. You're struggling. So we've got Eskom, Sasol, we had ISCO, all these companies, right? We've got South African police services, we've got public clinics.
Right.
Government doesn't need to do all of that. And capitalists hate that government do that. Capitalists would rather government sits in parliament, drafts laws and policies, and then hands over. They're not involved in electricity, in roads, they're not involved in anything. Everything must be done by the private sector, and government must only do government work, because that's what a government is. Government's not meant to be involved in arguably even things like education.
Yep.
Government should just set the policy that this is what we want.
Yep.
So that's the capitalist view. The socialist view now is to say, we're struggling with high unemployment. We're struggling with tender corruption and the like. We're saying we want government to have more. We want the Eskom equivalent to be in schools, healthcare. We don't want private healthcare. We don't want private this. And to what you're saying about jobs, sadly, we won't have entrepreneurs, which we don't like personally, but it will mean maybe they can absorb more people to work. And I just wanted your opinion outside of the work you do, because I know it's a conflict of interest.
Totally. Yeah.
Just philosophically, if you support it, or if you're like, no, I think people are going to be lazy. They're going to tell you system is offline and what. And you'd rather have entrepreneurs because they have an incentive to maybe do the work.
Exactly. I would have that, right? I would have more people opening up businesses, right? I'd have more people doing that part of it than having it in-house now.
You don't believe in insourcing?
No, I don't believe in insourcing.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think government should privatize more? Your Escoms, your police, all these guys, just privatize and turn that into procurement?
No, not to be run by government.
Yes.
Very interesting question. And I think that was the likes of it. That actually came out when there was state capture. You know that, right?
Sure.
That was one of the questions that came out to privatize Eskom. Because when you privatize Eskom, you're giving it to the likes of people that are benefiting.
Yes.
Families that have basically benefited throughout from 1994 are still benefiting.
Even before 94.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right? They are still going to be benefiting from this, right? So you give the perception to the country that it's only going to go to those elite few. So it's not, you've got no say, right? And that's something that, no, I don't think privatization of any state-owned department should be the case. It should be still run by government because the policies are in place. You
believe in a mix? Some tenders, some government ownership?
Not at all. No, I don't believe in anything of that as a mix. I believe in a partnership, like I said, in whereby, as the partnerships that we have, right, of whereby we do not have any percentage of government, or we do not have, but however, we basically make our money off what government's mandate is, right?
Yeah.
So we partner with government and we join forces with government as to achieve what actually government wants out of this, right? And what actually government's mandate is. How many more women do you want to see running businesses, right? How many more youth do you want to see, right?
Sorry, any closing remarks on your side? Before you close, I want to thank you. Like I said when we started, I felt your heart and your passion. You've got a deep desire to make impact. You haven't just gone into funding, but you're also looking to assist with skills. You know, some of the trigger words as you were speaking that I hear are things like, you don't want to turn people down because you're saying no to them and they're already dealing with the no out there in life. So if we can't give you the funding, maybe we can refer you, maybe we can upskill you. Yeah. We'll go find out, and we'll go and create relationships with government to find out what's there, what's possible, etc. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Fund the People and the work you're doing, and the entire team as well. It's sad that you guys exist. I appreciate that you exist. Otherwise, businesses would collapse, especially with the delayed payment terms. So thank you for the work that you do. And I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck. There was a time when you left the room to go to the bathroom, and I was just saying, it's sad that this conversation has been so political, but the work that you're in, unfortunately, touches on politics. Yeah. So it's difficult to navigate around it. Yeah. So I just wanted to say thank you, Praneshan. Thank you. But any closing remarks from your side?
You know, one of the things, though, that we do is, like I said, right, and I said this earlier to you before this podcast started off, is the 2 days in your life, which is the most important, the day you're born and the one you find purpose.
That's Mark Twain.
And I think we found our purpose, right? And not only just myself, but the people I work with. We know what we do, right? And we love what we do. We're passionate about what we do. We're passionate to such a state that it's something small that we do, right? Is basically, I was speaking to a domestic worker one day, which was in 2024, December. And I was just speaking to her, and she was complaining to me about her taking 2 taxis, leaving at 4:30 in the morning, leaving her house, jumping into Randburg taxi rank, taking another taxi and coming to Sandton. And when she gets into her work, she has to start work immediately.
Yeah.
That made me open up something called Wena Wednesdays, where we feed almost 200 people every Wednesday on the road. We give them breakfast. So it's been going on now for a year and a half.
Cheers.
So we do that every Wednesday, just as a way to say thank you for the work that they're doing, right? I don't think anybody recognizes your person that's actually pulling the trolley that's collecting all the recyclables in order for them to go and get some money for the recyclables that they collect, right?
To just go and buy a loaf of bread.
Thank you. Yeah. Right? No one sees the work of these people. No one sees the works of the domestic people. And that's what we do. We'd like to say thank you to the people of South Africa that actually keep this economy alive, right? And no one really sees the people on the ground. People just see the person that's doing the business, but no one really sees the person that's actually doing the work, right? So we recognize that. But one of the, my hope is that there's more companies that open up like me. You asked me earlier what I think about competition. I love competition. And the reason I love it is because there's so much of work in South Africa that I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
Right? I would love more companies to open up. I'd love more companies to open up and do what I do. Right? Because then there's a lot more people that get the assistance that need it, right? Us at Fund the People, we're limited, right? Into the amount of areas we can get into the amount of workshops we can have, in the amount of people that we can have assist with funding. We are limited with that, right? But we are hoping that this year a lot more companies open up then actually do what we do. I'm not afraid of competition.
Hey.
No, I'm not. No.
I know a lot of young people in Joburg, at least. No, around the whole country. I take that back. Who would love to get involved in some type of giving back. So, do you guys have a space for people to join Wena Wednesday?
Oh yes.
For you guys outside of the business you do.
100%.
And for people watching, go fund yourself. Is there a range of assistance that people can maybe look into that? Look, if you're looking for 500 Rand, maybe don't hit them up. Maybe if you're looking for assistance at this level and
So like I said, right, we have partnered with Gauteng, with the province, right? Especially with GEP. So they have got, their parameters as to, onto how to assist a business, right?
Sure.
So I think the parameters are from 50,000 Rand up. It's around there, So we will look at a business as to 50,000 Rand up. We will not go into the space where somebody says, hey, I want to buy a car to become an Uber driver. No, we're looking for something a little more creative. There's one very, very, very quick thing I'm going to tell you, right, is that I went into a township one day and I saw this guy that's going into a shop. He buys himself 100 toilet rolls. So there's 10 in a pack. He packs 10 in a trolley. He pushes it around. He sells the whole 100. He comes back, picks up another 100 and goes in the shop.
One roll at a time?
He sells individual rolls to every house.
Hectic.
He carries 100.
Sure.
But he does that 10 times in a day. Now, that's where creativity comes about.
Yeah.
Right? So if we have to fund somebody like that, hello, right? buy the guy a motorbike.
Yeah.
You know, let him go and do a lot more.
Oh,
than
that
this.
guy you'll buy a scooter.
Right, 100%.
Okay.
Exactly, right?
That's a business
That is a business,
Yeah.
right? I like his creativity though, right? So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for creativity within this market, right? And like I said, the amount of ideas that come out of Township baffle me and inspire me as well, you know? So, yeah, so thank you very much for having me as, you know, on the show. I think all my details are there as to how you can contact me. On the tender platform, we have Fund the People. On the Township enablement in terms of businesses other than tenders, we've got Go Fund Yourself.
Go fund yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Praneshan Naidoo, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for
I
having me,
appreciate
man.
sitting with our homeboy from KZN.
I know. Okay.
And the work
Same.
that you're doing in Joburg.
Yeah, okay. No, it is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me, my brother.
Cheers.
Thank you.